Hi, welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. Once again, outstanding guests. Here we have you've heard of evolutionary that we have evolutionary elders here. Dr. Williams and Mr. Wetzel, he's a writer, Whitten. And what we're going to do, we're going to give you a taste of this. But first of all, we're going to ask Dr. Williams, how do you get involved with evolutionary elder? Now, what does that mean?
Very good. Let's talk first about the age qualifier. Must be at least 60 years old. Must be interested in doing something to help people, preferably young boys and girls. As far as education is concerned.
We call that giving back.
Giving back, and that's what we're all about. Mr. Whitten and I have been giving back for many, many years, and we thought that we should bring this thing together and call it Evolutionary Elders. Yes, we are what some people will refer to as senior citizens, but we don't call ourselves senior citizens. We're giving ourselves another name, Evolutionary Elders. And we want to do those things that many of the elders before us did. And Mr. Whitten will tell you about some of his thoughts about some of the other elders and why we are following in their footsteps.
Yes, as an evolutionary elder, I'm blessed to be able to look back on my life and if had it not been for our ancestors and some of the elders who are living now, I would not be able to do what I'm doing. So as Dr. Williams stated, you know, we are about giving back, and we have a crisis in our schools. We have a crisis with our athletes. We seem to be ODing on entertainment, and too many of our people have died for us to be in the predicament that we're in, and much of that is self-inflicted. And we want to re-educate the miseducated Negro. That's what we're about.
Well, that's fine. You know, your theme and everything, I've been talking about that on my show. I feel that all of us, you know, no one made it by themselves. You know, presidents were set by the past, and that all of us, when we retire or whatever, we need to give back to the community. And I think the most important is the elders, like you say, or senior citizens, and the young people. If we get that mass together, those two groups, I think that's the key. Because the things that we have were taught, like Mr. Whitten was saying, is that we sit back and cut the grass and do a lot of other things when all that knowledge is going to waste. Where we have a problem. We definitely have a problem with the young people. But what are the elders going to do about it? I have to congratulate you all for really starting something like this program. This program is fantastic. I'm hoping that it really catches on, because I've been talking about it for a long time, as the elders getting with the young people, the problems we have in school, all of that. Dr. Williams, show us some of those books that you have there related to your teachings.
Certainly. And one of the reasons I wrote this book, it's a book on Mr. Barack Obama, our president. It's entitled Words Crossing Across, Word Search on Barack Obama. And the reason that we wrote this book was simply this. We want our youngsters to improve themselves verbally. We want them to become more literate. We want them to know vocabulary words that many people in this nation know. I tell my young people that the one thing that separates us from them is words. Many of us just don't know vocabulary, and therefore we're not able to communicate. So that's what this book is all about, and I'm very excited about this book because I give this book away to many youngsters, and it's now all over the world, Ed. It's all over the world.
Congratulations.
Yes. So that's one thing that I have done. There are many other things, and we will talk about them, but I am an educator, as you know. I'm an educator here in Prince George's County, Maryland. And this book, by the way, was actually conceived in my class at Annapolis Road Academy.
And tell us about the
Yeah.
academy. How do you get
Yeah.
involved with that?
Well, that's a public school. This year, grades 9 and 10. But a couple of years ago, I was teaching the I Have a Dream speech by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I was also teaching during Black History Month, The Audacity of Hope. And our students, not all of them, but many of them had serious problems. They couldn't pronounce the words. They did not know the definition of the words. So I'm a little frustrated here now, and I said to my class, students, we have a problem, don't we? And one little fellow in the back raised his hand and said, Dr. Williams, yes, we do have a problem, but I think if you taught me these words through word searches, then we would know them. And that generated the idea for this book. And I would drive to work, drive home thinking, I've got to do a book. Now, who should I do the book on? Should I do it on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or should I do it on Mr. Barack Obama?
Fantastic.
Well, Mr.
What about
Barack
the other
Obama.
book now?
Now, the other book is Grounded in the Word, a guide to mastering standardized test vocabulary and biblical comprehension. That's a book that my son and I wrote, and it's designed to help students improve their verbal scores on exams like the SAT. So I really like words, and my students know that by now, and they all want to learn words. And you see, that's something that I'm excited about as an evolutionary elder and as an educator, that I can have my students to want to emulate me as a wordsmith.
Okay, then, what we're going to do, we're going to a video, one of your classes, and just give the audience an example of the dynamic work that you are doing there in your elders, problems there. Okay, now what we're going to do is we go to the video, and then we're going to discuss the different things about what the video is, about the things that you are conveying to the young people.
Yes.
Be right back.
And largely because the parents of our students aren't getting the proper parenting before they come to school, because as we all know, education starts at home. And that certainly has a lot to do with how our children are being taught. Because I think both you, Dr. Williams, and Mr. Shea, as educators, you all have a tremendous task if you're not getting the parental support. And some of that support has to do with educating, the parents educating their children. And I tend to think that some of that has to do with our parents not having enough education themselves to understand what they need to do, the part that they need to play in the whole education process.
That is true, because parenting has really changed since the time that I was in elementary, middle, and high school. And as an evolutionary elder, I really see a marked difference and want to do something about it.
Yeah, you see, as a teacher in class, the education of the child does not rest entirely upon the shoulder of the teacher. The teacher has a lot to play, but education goes just beyond the classroom. Remember, you, the teacher, you have access to the student only at the moment that he is in the classroom. But the child education does not end in the classroom. It goes beyond the classroom into the community, and particularly the unit. The first point of the education is the home. Parents have to be very, very assistive. Parents have to collaborate in order to be sure that the child is educated. Now, what role does the parent play? I know the first problem we will have